Well, the hat's back on, which means we're here to talk about another Indiana Jones movie, not just any Indiana Jones movie. We're here to talk about The Dial of Destiny. So, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is the brand new film about Indiana Jones, directed by James Mangold, and not actually directed by Steven Spielberg. I don't think a lot of people know that. James Mangold, the director, obviously he did the film Logan, which is awesome. He did Ford versus Ferrari, that's awesome. He's done a bunch of other stuff. He's a really good director, so I was excited to see him come do this film. And the premise essentially is Indiana Jones gets roped in by his goddaughter, played by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, in order to find and track down the Dial of Destiny, which eluded him in the past, is now something he's got to track down in 1969, New York, and then it takes him across the globe, per usual, globe-trotting adventure, and so another Indiana Jones flick. It's been, 15 years since the last one. A lot has changed for Indiana Jones, and I will say, so the story, I think, does a lot of good stuff, and it does some stuff I'm not crazy about. Going into this, my expectations were pretty high, and that's on me. I love the Indiana Jones films. I know there's a couple films that I don't like as much as a couple other ones, but for the most part, I just like the Indiana Jones character. And I had some really high expectations between James Mangold directing this and Harrison Ford coming back. I just thought the premise sounded interesting. Now he's got a goddaughter in the mix. How does that work? And so there's a lot of stuff, like, after watching this, I feel conflicted. I'm not going to lie. I didn't leave the theater super ecstatic, and I didn't leave the theater super bummed. I think this movie, and I hate to say it, it kind of rides like a safe line. I think this movie almost plays it safe to an extent. I mean, Harrison Ford is still great as Indiana Jones. I don't think it's his best performance as Indiana Jones, but it's still pretty good. I mean, the dude's 80 years old. What do you expect? So he can't really do a whole lot of his own action scenes, so he's got a stunt double half the time. So there's nothing wrong with that. Phoebe Waller-Bridge comes in as his goddaughter, Helena Shaw, and she's all right in the movie too. Like, you can kind of tell, she's the big female lead. She, I think, carries a lot of this movie. Some good stuff, some bad stuff. It's hard to tell if that's more of the writing, if the writing wasn't as great with her, or if it was just maybe the direction they took with her character. Hard to say. I wasn't totally crazy about her character. I didn't mind the involvement in the story. It just wasn't a character that I, connected with, like maybe some of the other Indiana Jones side characters. Speaking of side characters, come on, John Rhys-Davies comes back as Sala. I think when he's in the movie, that's some of my favorite stuff in the whole flick. It's him. And then, some other actors that show up. Antonio Banderas is in this as a ship captain guy that Indiana Jones meets, and I'm sorry, but that was kind of a waste of a casting. I love Antonio Banderas, but it feels like this character in this film was kind of a wasted character. Kind of a there and then they're gone. Like, why even cast somebody like Antonio Banderas to play this almost near a bit part? I almost didn't even recognize him with his beard and everything. So that was kind of a bummer for that. Toby Jones, you see him in there. He plays Helena Shaw's dad, Basil Shaw, and I like when he's in there. He's a little more, he's not quite up to Indy standards, but he does go on an adventure with Indy in kind of the bumbling buffoon sidekick kind of role, which was fun. I think he did fine. He's not in the movie a whole lot, but when he's in there, I dig him. He's not too bad. And then you have the big bad guy. Mads Mikkelsen plays Jürgen Voller. He's like a Nazi physicist, and so he's obviously tracking down the Dial of Destiny for his own nefarious purposes. I love Mads Mikkelsen. I think he's one of the best actors in the business. I've seen him do some great work, but here as the villain, I mean, he's good, but he's not like a memorable villain. He's kind of a paint-by-numbers Nazi villain who just gets to have that cool, like, Mads Mikkelsen stare and just that gravelly voice of his, which I dig, but it wasn't a home run. I thought this would be like a slam dunk villain, like an all-time great Indiana Jones villain, and he's just kind of a run-of-the-mill villain in my opinion. And I feel a little bummed that it didn't exceed that. And I'm not that it needed to, but it would have been nice to have, like, just a great, like, scene-stealing, kind of crushing it villain, but he's just the villain, and that bummed me out a little bit. And like I said, going into this, I was so excited. I don't know how much of my expectations, is tampering this, because I'm not saying like I mapped out what I thought the movie was going to be, and then I was disappointed with the movie I got. I don't agree with all the choices. Like, I love the opening 20 minutes or so of this movie. Like, all the stuff where they DH Harrison Ford, not a spoiler, that's in the trailer. They DH Harrison Ford, and there's a great 20-minute sequence that is very, very Indiana Jones. It could have been its own little standalone movie. And to an extent, it almost is its own little movie in and of itself. But obviously, it sets up the rest of the movie. And then after that, you get into the modern times. And I don't mind them aging Indy up. I have no problem with that and making that story interesting. I just wish the story, had a little more going on than it did. They have some decisions and stuff, and I don't want to spoil, but there's some decisions and stuff around Indy's character. Maybe not anything to do with him particular, but it's like his life, like stuff around his life, like where he's at in his career and where he's living now. There's some stuff that they kind of explain away in dialogue and like papers and stuff that, tells you what happened in the last 15 years. And I wasn't too crazy about the choice. I mean, that's just me, a personal thing. And I bet you if I see this a second time, knowing everything I know now, maybe it'll be a better experience the second time around. But it really did kind of bug me and disappoint me a little bit that they kind of threw some stuff away that I was like, oh, really? We're just going to go 15 years and you're just going to throw certain things away. But whatever. I mean, it is a mixed bag. And I hate saying that because I wanted to love this film so much. James Mangold directs the crap out of this film. I think he does an absolute fantastic job. The story is kind of the weak point. Not that it's bad. I just think that there are some decisions they make that just don't really jive for my Indiana Jones sensibilities, and that's me personally. But I will give it this. This is a lot more grounded than like the last one, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. This is a little bit more of the adventure kind of film that I would want. Like, it actually nailed that on the head, where it's like a little bit more of tracking something down, going to some places and figuring stuff out, following some clues. And that was the part I actually dug. It is what kept me interested in the story. There's just some other stuff kind of going around it. I'm like, why is this a thing? Like, this isn't really a spoiler, but like I was really hoping Short Round would be in this movie. Ke-Huy Quan's character from Temple of Doom. And this is a movie in my head, which isn't this movie, which is fine. But I would have loved if the Phoebe Waller-Bridge character would have been the Ke-Huy Quan character. I think that would have changed things drastically. You wouldn't have to invent a new goddaughter character. You could have Ke-Huy Quan come back and be like the Indiana Jones-esque character, and Indiana Jones is kind of not second fiddle to him, but Indiana Jones is helping him along the quest. But then Ke-Huy Quan can do all the action stuff, and Indy gets a little bit of it because he's 80 years old. What do you expect? So like, it did bum me out in some of the scenes of the movie where Indy can lead a car chase, but like when you see him about to try to run down an alley, you're like, you're not making that, dude. You're 80 years old. Good luck sprinting down that alley to catch that car. Like, there's just, I don't know. I feel like it could have been better written, and that's a big disappointment for me. But I mean, on the technical side of things, really well directed, great cinematography. John Williams kicks the ass out of this score. I love the score to this. And, I don't think the special effects are as bad as people were saying. Like the de-aging, like, yeah, it's noticeable, but I think it was actually really good, face replacement or de-aging, whatever they did to Harrison Ford, during that opening sequence of the movie. I thought that was great. But I think they did miss a big opportunity with this theme. The Dial of Destiny is, talking about time travel, going back in time. If they would have incorporated the theme of time, like bringing back some more older characters like Ke-Huy Quan's Short Round, or some of the other characters Indiana Jones has met along the way of his adventures, would have been really great, especially if this is his last movie. If this is Indiana Jones's final film outing with Harrison Ford, it would have been great to have some more of these characters come back into the fold and be a part of this story, which, like I said, big missed opportunity. But terrible by no means. Great, definitely not. I think upon subsequent viewings and maybe giving it a little time and sitting with it, I think my opinion of this could definitely change, and I think it can only go up. I don't think it could get any worse. But I mean, I'm going to give this a B-, which isn't bad. I do think it's a little bit better than Temple of Doom, in my opinion, but I mean, the best thing I could say is I didn't fall asleep during this one like I did Temple of Doom. But it's just, and definitely, I don't think it's as good as Crystal Skull, which is weird to say. Like, I just rewatched Crystal Skull, and I kind of like Crystal Skull a little bit more than this one. But maybe that'll change. Who knows? What do you guys think? Are you excited for Dial of Destiny? Are you going to go see this? Are you not going to go see this? Are you even an Indiana Jones fan? Let me know in the comments down below. If you could also please hit that like button, subscribe button, the little bell notification to be notified whenever I drop new videos. It would be greatly appreciated. And yeah, until the next review, guys. Yeah, I'm a little bummed about this one. Not going to lie. This was on my most anticipated list. I think this was number 3. A little disappointed. But I mean, like I said, if I get asked to go see this in the theater again, I might do it. Hard to say right now. Like, I just got back from the theater from seeing this, so everything's still kind of percolating and fresh in my head, and I still don't know completely how I feel, but that's just my initial kind of reaction and review for it, and I hope that, given time, it'll improve. And until the next review, guys, I'll be seeing you.